Hey, how you doing today? I am Taquila Coleman. In today's video, I'm going to answer this question: how do you let go of the person without letting go of the promise? I thought this was a great question. That this individual asked in our comment section, and let's talk about it, because how do you let go of the person without letting go of the promise? And so, number one, it has everything to do with you understanding when you take a look at your spouse, right? And if you identify that this person is a prodigal, right? That alone right there lets you know that this individual isn't ready for you. They're not ready for marriage, right? They're not even in covenant with God, right? In order to receive this marriage promise, right? So when we begin to look at the prodigal and you see signs that this individual isn't ready for you or marriage, that's enough to move you into saying, you know what, I'm gonna just go ahead and release my spouse, to the Lord, with the understanding of knowing that you cannot lose this promise. We must begin to let go of the fear that comes with letting go of our spouse. You got to let go of that thought that's telling you, if I let go, then maybe the counterfeit might marry them or get them, for life. We got to let that go, and we have to now move into understanding covenant. You got to believe what God promised you. See, God told you that this is your husband or wife. Therefore, what God say is going to come to pass. We have to move into just believing what God said and knowing that, as I let go, as I surrender this love story to the Lord, it is God who is, working on my behalf. It is God who is going to get not only myself, but my spouse together as well. Right? So you let go of your spouse by, just surrendering, recognizing that they are not ready, for you or for this God ordained marriage. And you might not even be ready to step into this marriage, right? I'm still telling the Lord, the things I still have to do, right? But the Lord telling me, you're ready, Taquila, right? So, both spouses probably not even ready to walk into this God ordained marriage promise, right? So again, when you look at your spouse, and when you start seeing signs, when you see lack of character, when your spouse, is making it crystal clear that they can't figure out if they want you or the counterfeit, that right there is enough for you to say, you know what, I'm gonna just go ahead and let you just go ahead and be with who you keep choosing, while I'm over here working on myself, right? Because you don't want to continue to hold on to someone who is unsure about you. You don't want to continue to hold on, for this individual when they are double-minded, when they are mistreating you, when they are neglecting you, when they, just keep rejecting you. You don't want to keep on holding on to that. We have to get in the habit. We have to retrain ourselves, to now we are welcoming in people who love and accept us. See, the enemy has caused a lot of us, a lot of God's children, to be used to rejection. The enemy has, conditioned us to be used to, just tolerating certain things, and God doesn't want you tolerating these things. He doesn't want you to continue to sit up under the very thing that keep on rejecting you, right? He's trying to bring you into this new thing, right? So in order to walk into this new thing, you got to let go of the very thing, that keep rejecting you, that keep breaking your heart, and the thing that want to stay in the past and on that level, you got to let it go, okay? But when we talk about you said, how do you let go of the person without letting go of the promise? Well, what is the promise, right? Yes, God promised you marriage, but what else did God promise you? When you take a look at Jeremiah 29:11, God said, I have plans to prosper you and not to harm you, and plans to give you a hope and a future. This is a promise, okay? So how do we get to this promise of God prospering us, giving us a hope and a future? This promise is going to come about, yes, through your obedience, but also with work, okay? Scripture say without faith, without work is dead, okay? So we let go of the person because we have identified this individual isn't ready. They still have to go through their process. And I also got to understand that if I try to make this person ready, if I, become impatient in this love story and I hurry up and get married to this individual, I might find myself standing again. 1 or 2 years or 3 years later. If I rush this and don't allow my spouse to go through their process, I'm signing up for more hurt and pain in the future in my marriage. I might be signing up for adultery to happen in my marriage, right? So because I don't want these things, right? I've been married before. I'm not about to be sitting up here getting married 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, times. No. The first time, that was all me. That was me. I take full responsibility for it. But the second time, it's God. He the one who chose my person. I'm giving my person his time to go through his process. I'm going through my process, and when the time is right, thus says the Lord, that we're going to come together and this is going to be for life, okay? And so that's the thing on how you let go of your spouse. You just recognize that they're not ready. You recognize more work needs to be done and they got to go through their process because you don't want any more heartache and pain. Not saying when you get into marriage, your spouse won't hurt you. Yes, but it won't be the hurt that they're dishing out right now. Okay, but you want a better life. And so when we talk about how do you let go of the person without letting go of the promise, see, the promise is the calling that's on your life. The promise is a better life. You've been believing God for it. The promise is, God making your name great. The promise is, you leaving an inheritance for your children's children. The promise is every single thing your hands touch prosper. We got to begin to understand what is the promise, because it's more than marriage. The promise is your destiny. It's the calling that's on your life, okay? So I can let go of my person, but still be obedient to the Lord. I can let go of my person and still begin to seek out my calling. I can still begin to build the business or the ministry God is telling me, to build in this season. Or I can go ahead and write the book, or I can go ahead and start the channel without my spouse even being here, right? That's the difference, okay? So I can let them go. And I say this all the time, when we talk about the stages, God is going to move the believing spouse into purpose first. He's going to lead you into that promised land first, and then he's going to catch your spouse up, and they're going to eventually, join you later on down the line. But I could let go of this person and still continue to move into healing, continue to, move into the promised land, continue to keep my eyes focused on the Lord, and what he's saying. Letting go of the promise don't mean now letting go of the promise doesn't give me permission to now be disobedient to the Lord. No, because when you understand disobedience, what's integrated in you being disobedient to God's instruction, laws, and commandments are curses. So if you don't want curses to hit your life, that means now you are choosing to be obedient to the Lord, right? And obedience is simply understanding God's laws and commandments. I'm not going to break them, right? I'm going to do everything in my power not to break his laws and commandments. But obedience is also when God gives you instructions on, the things he wants you to do. When God tells you to move, you move, right? When God tells you to get in your purpose or calling or your ministry, you do it. When he tells you, apply for this job, you do it, right? Obedience is on every level, okay? So I can let go of my person and still hold on to this promise, because you got to understand what the promise is. That's the first step. We got to understand what is the promise, okay? The promise is your opportunity. The promise is the favor that's on your life. The promise is God making your name great. The promise is, all of everything what your heart desire, right? You don't have to wait on your spouse to move into, certain promises that are assigned to your life, okay? Yes, it would be great for your spouse to come along, and, you enjoy these promises with your spouse. But if they're not ready, if your spouse continue to, allow the enemy to keep them distracted, then you got to let that go. You have to let it go, and you can't allow a prodigal, to keep you, behind, or to keep you away from you entering into your blessings. No, that was my request to the Lord. I said, God, I'll stand for this. I'll be obedient to you, but I don't want this to, pull me back. I don't want this to hold up my blessings. And God was like, okay, it's not. Come on, let's go, Taquila, right? So we got to understand what is the promise, right? It's more than marriage. Okay, you gotta, you might have to write this down so that you really have a full understanding of what you are standing for, because you're standing for more than marriage. You standing for the calling that's on your life. You standing so that you can leave an inheritance for your children's children. You standing for a better life. You standing, I mean, it's so much. Okay, so I hope that was clear on how you let go of the person without letting go of the promise. You don't let go of the promise. If your heart desire a better life, if your heart desire a better house, a better home, a better location to live in, if your heart desire more finances, right? That's the promise. The wealth is attached to the promise, okay? Your business or ministry is attached to the promise. Promotion is attached to the promise. Elevation is attached to the promise, right? We have to understand what is the promise and what all comes with it. Favor, doors of opportunity, that comes with the promise, right? So I'm going to hold on to that. And I hold on to that by continuing to do the work. The work is healing. The work is growing every single day, becoming 1% better, right? The work is changing my mindset. The work is coming into my identity. The work is, learning my authority. The work is, stepping into purpose and understanding the gift that I'm carrying on the inside of me, right? And then the work is not sitting on my gift, but now, coming up with creative ways on how my gift can now make room for me and bring me before a great man, right? We got to understand this stuff, okay? So I hope that helped. I hope this answered your question. I am Taquila Coleman. Hey, leave me a positive comment below, and let me know in the comment section, how are you letting go of the person but not the promise? I want to hear from you. Let me know how you are letting go of the person but not the promise, and make sure you subscribe to this channel, and I'll talk to you real soon. Take care.